Warriors, rise. I'm going to do the best I can, Warriors. I am losing my voice. We're going to do this together, though. We are going to rise together, Warriors. My name is Coach JV. I am the top health, mindset, and crypto coach in the world. Remember, what you believe in your heart, you think in your mind will eventually become your words and become your reality. If you can see it in your mind, eventually you can hold it right here in your hands. What you repeatedly do gets ingrained in your subconscious mind. What gets ingrained in your subconscious mind becomes an unconscious activity, Warriors. You're going to feel my intensity pick up on the back end of this year, Warriors, because this is the greatest time in human history. As everybody runs for the hills, as everybody says crypto is collapsing, that is when you get in. When everybody's fearful, the elites are buying. When there's blood in the streets, that's when they attack, Warriors. Warren Buffett has pencil to paper right now, waiting for these tech stocks to collapse down, and they're going to buy the dip. Don't trip, buy the dip. Everybody keeps saying, oh, crypto this, crypto that, Warriors. This should be the time you're celebrating, and that's how we teach in our Warrior Academy. 3twarrior.com. Access to my portfolio, exit strategy, 130 cryptocurrency courses for beginners all the way to advanced, 7 calls per week, and a support system of like-minded people rising to the top. All right, so let's dive right into it, Warriors. So what I'm here to do is teach you the macro and micro economics. So I'm going to take you through some videos. This is a billionaire talking about we must get to 4% inflation or there's going to be a recession. So I want you to think about this for just a moment. Would you believe a word they say? You know, Jerome Powell last year was talking about we're going to go into transitory inflation, right? We're going to work to get to 2% in a reasonable amount of time. And now inflation is out of control. They stopped the quantitative easing or slowed down the quantitative easing, right? They stopped those stimulus checks. And at the same time, they raise your gas prices. They raise your food prices. Your rent prices go up 20%. And now you're just struggling to survive, Warriors. The biggest collapse in financial history, our financial history, is on its way. And there's going to be 2 types of people, a warrior and a warrior. And I hope that you'll reach this message well, and you'll start to look at your habits and start to cut back on the habits that can free up some cash flow. And with that freed up cash flow, you will become a fundamental investor and make small incremental investments to change your life. So I'm going to take you through that. I'm also going to show you the head of the IMF and the verbiage she's using. This is how closely I watch this stuff and how I make my financial decisions. I listen to the words that they say, and then I watch what they do. And that's how I make my fundamental investments. So let's listen to what he says about 4% inflation.
Remember this conversation we had a few months ago? And I said, Jerome Powell has a pretty tough job to fill. And I still believe that. I mean, he is in a very, very difficult position, because if the inflation is transitory, if we are heading towards a 4% rate by the end of the year, he has a lot more room to maneuver rates in 2023. If inflation doesn't break soon here, he's going to have to hit the brakes pretty hard. That will put us into a recession. And one of the key things that the Fed has been very focused on, both under his supervision, under Janet Yellen's supervision, I know Ben Bernanke thought about this a lot. You don't want to slow growth down when people are on the sidelines who are employable. All right, so the cost to human life of qualified people unable to find work is devastating. And we've really made a choice as a country, and I think this is a really important point to make. We are better off running the economy with a slightly higher risk of inflation and trying to bring as many people back to the workforce as possible, rather than letting people be out of the workforce where their skills and employability crumble quickly with time.
Okay, so here's the part. Now, hear what he's saying, right? But remember what Jerome Powell has said to us, Warriors. He said he's worried about the middle class. He's talking about Jerome Powell, who is the head of the Feds, right? We're worried about the middle class, that they're going to get leveraged towards technology, their jobs. They're going to come back to a brand new economy. So exactly what he's saying is exactly what is going to happen to the economy. So think about this, Warriors. We are in a war now, Russia versus Ukraine. The wheat production is 40% in between the two. We're going into a food crisis, a food shortage, right? The banks don't have your money. They're switching to a new monetary system. Well, let's just walk through the path here, okay? So this is where was I at here? Oh yeah. Oh, did it restart on me? I might have to just give me a second. I might have to redo this real quick, okay? So I had it on a certain spot. So I want you to listen to. Let me see if I got this right. Oh,
You
no,
mentioned-
I got it on the right spot. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna watch this together here. We're gonna listen to what I want you to listen to deeply what she says. Okay, this is the head of the IMF, International Monetary Fund.
The role of the IMF, there is this bigger question right now about the role of globalization in general, and
just so you guys know too, I'm gonna actually show you what a short, cool clip on what globalization actually is.
the onshoring of manufacturing and supply chain. And it started with COVID, or maybe even before that, and really got exacerbated by this war in Ukraine. And obviously, Chair Powell, there are going to be ramifications of this for growth and for inflation if we are, in fact, in a world where globalization is going in reverse or even dying. What do you think?
Well, that is certainly a possible outcome here. I think you've seen questions about globalization, and this series of events around Ukraine certainly has the possibility of leading to a more fragmented political situation and economic situation. You saw Secretary Yellen's speech this week about looking to, I think she called it friendshoring. So I think there's a lot of thinking going on like that. You know, the globalization that we had benefits to it, and it had cost involved in it. And you know, these are really questions more for elected governments, I would say, than they are for a central bank. But there would certainly be a different world. It might be a world of perhaps higher inflation, perhaps lower productivity, but more resilient, more robust supply chains. If we were to have, the supply chains that we had were very efficient, but quite fragile, it turned out. So. And I think it's not clear that we're seeing a reversal of globalization. It is clear, I think, that it's certainly slowed down, and it may go into reverse. I don't know.
Is that? I mean, clearly Europe's thinking about it in terms of secure.
Okay, so he's talking about globalization, right? Supply chain. They keep bringing up supply chain fragmentation, and the supply chain blockchain is going to correct all of that. So I'm going to skip forward to Christine Lagarde.
And things like energy and independent.
Work that we have trade, and it is not easy. Let's face a lot of good at
of trade and people and capital.
We are living in a multipolar world, and that has already led to some frictions and some shifts in trading partners. But I am in both of those who say, we are so integrated. And if you make a list of the problems that no one country can resolve on its own, it's a very long list. We have to find ways to work together. So what is the question? Are we going to evolve in blocks that...
Okay, key. Listen to what she says. Watch what she says. Blocks, just listen to what she says right here.
Are closed and function independently from each other, or we would have some preferences, preferred trading partners, but we will have highways and bridges that allow us to still solve big problems, come on the same page. What was so interesting today in our discussions was how strong the voice of we have to work together was in the room. And it was especially emerging markets and developing economies that said, hey, we have achieved so much because of this integrated global economy. It is irresponsible to make the world poorer. And actually, Sri Mulyani spoke so well that it is the quality of our world, not just the quality of our economies, that is at stake. But it is more difficult, and it makes my job even more important in finding place for all of us to agree. You probably have heard the story of communiques not materializing. Didn't materialize for us at the IMFC, but even everybody agreed on the substance of the policy conclusions and recommendations. Everybody. And then we had one member that said, well, but you're saying something else there that I don't agree with. It is very, very early, in my view, to go and buy a coffin for globalization. Not that yet.
That's quite a statement.
Okay, so I just want you to listen to their verbiage. Okay, so they're moving us to an economy and a one world economy. Okay, so behind the scenes, we know they're all working together, connecting this global economy. It's going to be connected through blockchain. It's going to be connected through supply chain. And so let's understand what globalization is, right? So they say that we're in globalization. Excuse me. They say that we're in globalization, but here's what globalization actually is. Okay, so let's listen to this. Is a really cool video. Let me give credit where credit is due. Globalization explained in 1 minute, and this is on the YouTube channel 1 Minute Economics, which is really neat. So check it out.
Globalization and the potential benefits aren't hard to understand. By eliminating trade barriers in an honest manner, everyone could theoretically win. 1. Poor countries would receive a significant influx of capital as international companies take advantage of the lower wages, and in time, this could even lead to a gradual eradication of poverty. 2. Those who live in rich countries can take advantage of greater product variety, as well as better prices thanks to imports. 3. The world would move towards a more efficient allocation of capital, based on whatever it is each country can produce better than others. If a country cannot produce, let's say, clothing in a cost-effective manner, it can simply import clothes and focus on the products it's better at making. Unfortunately, things haven't exactly gone as planned for several reasons. 1. Most countries don't practice what they preach when it comes to being fair. For example, rich countries which encourage poorer countries to sell them resources, but discourage them from selling actual high value-added products. 2. Everyone wants to game the system by artificially weakening their currency to boost exports, subsidizing industries, and so on. 3. Whenever something's wrong with the economy, local politicians and citizens love blaming globalization. It sure beats looking in the mirror.
Okay, so that's where we're at right now. They're not able to look in the mirror. They're trying to solve this problem, the quantitative easing, the massive debt bubble that we're in, and the inflation, right? So cryptocurrency, that's why the billionaires are moving into cryptocurrency. I'm going to keep bringing this up. It'll circle back to the crypto and the blockchain. People are freaking out because cryptocurrency is supposedly sideways or in a bear market. It doesn't matter if it's in a bear market right now. What the elites are doing is they're controlling and manipulating the markets. 100% warriors. It's a $2 trillion market. It is such a small market cap that the whales can move the market back and forth. They can move this wherever they want. They can dip the price to buy in. They can raise the price to sell the top. It's very, very simple what's happening, warriors. Your job is to pick the winners and losers. We know that Bitcoin is going to be here to stay no matter who created it or who's nefarious, whatever. Bitcoin is a store of value. They created it as a store of value. Okay. So Bitcoin is being seen as an inflation hedge for the newcomers outside the US. I'm more of an altcoin person. I'm not against Bitcoin, but you're seeing what's happening in the smaller countries. September 7, 2021, El Salvador just became the first country to accept Bitcoin as legal tender. I always say that wrong. Tender? Is it tender? Tender. And then right here, we had Central African Republican becomes, I said that incorrectly. I was talking to somebody in Steam Rooms where I said South Africa. Central African Republican, which is much smaller, becomes second country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. I'm sure you guys will correct me if I'm saying that incorrect. Central Africa lawmakers voted unanimously to pass bill and legalize crypto. Bitcoin will be considered legal tender alongside the regional Central Africa CFA franc. The CAR is the second nation in the world to make Bitcoin legal tender. El Salvador did so last year. So what's going to happen is slowly and methodically, just like the marijuana laws, it's going to start at a state level and then it'll build up to a country level and then it'll go bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And so as they build this out, as they come up with regulation, and America will be the forefront of regulation, that's what the Ripple SEC lawsuit is all about, in my opinion, to bring in a new Howey test. Your job is just to be patient, persistent, pick the winners and losers. Surround yourself with a community of warriors, a small elite group of people that are bringing the money back to the people. So we can either bitch and complain about what Biden's doing or that Trump is going to come back and save the world. But the truth is you're the only person that can save yourself, warriors. There is no hero coming to save you. There is no superhero. It's you. It's your activities and behaviors on a daily basis that are showing up within your physical reality. But there's never been a time in history where you can take advantage and be part of the playing field. There's never been a time like this. That's why they're panicking. That's why they're freaking out. That's why they're throwing haymakers wars. That's why there's so many black swan events, because they know the people have the ability and the resources to wake up very, very quickly. Think about that. Those who control the money control politics. Those who control the money control the information, control the people. It's very simple. So you can either sit on the sidelines and be a side chair quarterback or an armchair quarterback, or you can get in the game and start throwing some Hail Marys wars. What else are you going to do with your time? Watch the Johnny Depp trial, watch Chris Rock, and Will Smith and all that stuff. It's going to be black swan after black swan after black swan. Or you can start to change your habits and create some liquidity and take that liquidity and put it into a speculative asset. And maybe that speculative asset that if you stack it up and set it and forget it, will change your life in the future. So the way I look at it is I have an 18-year-old daughter and I have a 6-year-old son who are looking at me. And in 10 years, they're going to say, Dad, what did you do? Well, I activated. I didn't sit back and watch all this shit happen. I didn't blame left. I didn't blame right. I activated. And thank God I did. Thank God I cut out frivolous spending. They're like, Dad, you don't know how to talk. But frivolous spending, and got my shit together. And all I'm doing is just sharing the information. I love you guys, from my heart to yours, from my family to yours. Let's get our shit together. Is that fair? I love you guys. I appreciate you. As we always say, I'm going to do a little bit quieter, save my voice. Warriors, rise. If you haven't checked out, I have a podcast as well, the Coach JB podcast. I think it's over 1,400 podcasts since 2017. Love you guys.